The power of Christ compels you. Be afraid. Be very afraid. What's your favorite scary movie? Hey, Dad. Yes, son. Peg me. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. One man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
Welcome, everybody, to the Creed of Crypto. My name is Broke Boy Boo Boy Crypto, and I'm here with Crypto Ewok for another installment of Creed of Crypto, a special Halloween edition, if you will. Welcome in to everybody in the chat. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Are the Fed about to pump the crypto bull market finally? We have the expected 25 basis point rate cut today, and some comments from Jerome Powell. Some people think bullish. Some people think bearish. It depends on the level of estrogen in your body. No offense, Hex Girl, or any ladies here tonight, speaking to the men. But anyway, we welcome you guys in. Mike Crypt, Hex Board, Duke of Booze, Valiant Low Key, Hex Girl, as I mentioned. Brownie's Midlife Adventure. Haven't seen you in a bit. Welcome in. Checks My Pulse, of course. Welcome into all of you. We have Fast Abdul here as well. So shout out to all you guys. Reddington too. Hit the like button. We appreciate you guys being here. We do this every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Happy Halloween for those who celebrate. And Ewok, how are you on this beautiful late October evening?
Pretty good. Still crazy busy at work. Still kind of avoiding the whole crypto in general. I catch little bits and pieces here and there just so we have some stuff to talk about. I try to, but it's been good. And I still, I still see a lot more bullishness amongst the community. I see things like the walls are starting to come down a little bit. I see big names bringing up Pulse Chain, things that you normally didn't see there the past 8 months or whatever it was, however, a year. So things are definitely turning around. I'm still bullish. As far as the people that are thinking this is over, I feel bad. I feel bad for a lot of people who feel that way because we haven't gotten there yet. So I'm good.
Yeah, you make an interesting observation that we can get to. Yeah, you were kind of saying that to me off the air. Like, regarding Pulse Chain, you're seeing bullish sentiment. And then I said regarding the larger crypto market, I'm seeing mostly bearish from most people because what I've been mainly interested in looking at in lately is what a lot of these mainstream, influencers or charters or whatever they are thinking about the cycle, because that's the big thing right now. Everybody's talking about cycle. We've talked about it too ad nauseum, like the different terminology and how you have to define what it is you're talking about, like extended cycle. What is the 4-year cycle? Nobody actually defines these things when they're talking about it typically. So that's kind of the important thing. And we'll continue to talk about that here tonight. But definitely a continued catalyst in the news today. Of course, the FOMC did take place. The Fed, as expected, 99% chance expectation, did cut by 25 basis points. Some people thought there was an outside chance at 50. That did not happen. One person did vote for that, apparently, in the Fed, though, so that's an encouraging sign. We had that. We had comments from Jerome Powell as well that we'll get into, and a lot of volatility over the last day with Bitcoin, leading. And you're always going to see this. I mean, you're going to get the scam wicks and stuff like that with everything. Price volatility leading up to the Fed announcement. I don't think it's a surprise to you or I that it was a sell the news event on the day anyway. I mean, it was, like I said, the odds of this happening were 99%. Everybody knew that this rate cut was coming and frankly is expecting one in December as well, which Powell threw some cold water on, but we'll get to that. But yeah, Bitcoin taking a little bit of a backseat today, about 2% down over the last 24 hours. Ethereum, 1.3% down. We have Bitcoin just over 111K right now. It really did pretty well on the downward price action intraday, which, again, is pretty meaningless. But I think I saw it go down to 109 something at one point today, which, one of the key numbers has been that 108 area. I mean, it's still way up off of any type of concern that the bull market would be in doubt. So we didn't get anywhere near down to below 100K or anything like that. No. But I think this has been kind of a, if anything, a healthy area for it to dip down to. And I think more importantly, it's going to be these subsequent days and leading into next week to really see what the actual reaction is to this news today. So, it's usually not the same day stuff. Ethereum, excuse me, basically keeping the pace that it's been trying to hold with BTC. It's at 39.37 right now. It went down into that 3,800-ish area, which is a key level for it too, which it just kind of bounced off of. And that's been a level for it here for a bit. So nothing out of the ordinary for a bull market FOMC day. And again, I think the next week will be a little bit more telling as we get into November as well. Who knows what new narrative for Pumpvember or something will happen that inevitably fails again. But yeah, what do you make of this short-term price action today? We'll get into the Powell comments. I mean, if you want to go that direction, we can. But what do you make of this today and where we'll go here heading into November? Because we're about to turn the page already on October, which didn't really plan out. So what do you make of all of it, Ewok?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was about 99%, already known what was going to happen. So what we saw here since essentially last Wednesday was a run-up. They were front-running it, obviously. So yes, it was a sell the news event today. It pulled back, but it didn't get back to where it was last week. When people actually started the front running process, in before this happened. So the one thing I do want to mention, and the Dow Jones obviously made an all-time new high today. Now it did pull back a little bit too, but it made it up to 47,746 was the high there, or 48. I'm sorry, 48,000. And 40. So yeah, it's having a little bit of a retracement right now, but again, strength there. As far as BTC goes, usually it's a trailing type of thing where the Dow does good and then Bitcoin does good and then the other, they all kind of feed off of each other. So
kind of a human centipede.
As long as it didn't, essentially. And yeah, the low today was right at 109. I saw it almost touch like 8. Yeah, it's 109 right on the dot. So that's the low. I mean, everyone must have had their buy orders set at that price because it was seriously 109,000,000. So a 109 flat price, and it got bought right back up, and now we're sitting at 111 again. So yeah, I mean, we're still consolidating in this range, normally right between the 50 and the 200. Again, it's that very common. Same for Ethereum, riding in this channel. And as long as it's not making lower lows, like we'll talk about this in a second too when we get to the pulse chain prices. But as long as these are continuing to go up from the last local bottom, I see strength. I see people just kind of waiting their time, and those are the smart ones. The people that are saying that everything's over and don't want this to go much longer, or don't think it's going much longer, are going to be pretty sad when they sell and it leaves the station without them.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing is how soon we forget. It's funny because I was just looking at my notes prior to the FMC or FOMC today. When I was just talking about what had happened over the weekend with BTC and ETH, I texted you guys the other night. We had a very strong weekly close. Like Bitcoin pumped hard over the course of Sunday, as did ETH. ETH was at like 4,200. BTC, I think, got to like 115 by Monday. Both had extremely bullish weekly closes this past week, and a lot of momentum, which was great. And this is just some bullshit scam intraday stuff on a Fed decision, which is always to be expected. So it's just crazy that like BTC lost that $6,000 in its dollar value anyway, just over the last few days. So we could go. I mean, end of this week, we could go right back to that area.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah, so wouldn't take long. Wouldn't take long at all.
Yeah. It's just again, I guess we'll just have this conversation real quick. Because again, I think the mainstream crypto is still pretty damn bearish. Like they are. I think it's because all they look at is Bitcoin. We just said this off air too, and they've made their gains. I mean, BTC, ran harder in a Bitcoin halving year 2024 than we're used to seeing. This year it's done well. It's gotten to 126,000, which is a number, a lot of people predicted, quite frankly, like 125 BTC for this cycle. So a lot of them are just fine with the gains, and they're like, okay, I guess everything was just early this cycle, and we're done. And they just can't fathom, Ethereum's never done anything. Altcoins have never done anything. For the first time in both of those entities, like history, I guess they're just not going to perform in a bullish environment when Bitcoin is going to, according to them. And and as well as the fact that the macro situation is getting better later in this cycle than it has in prior cycles. So
right.
I don't know. There's basically a couple scenarios here. It's like, to them, it's either we've already topped, or maybe it like double tops here in the next 2 months, or it goes a little bit higher, 130, 140K, and Ethereum and altcoins just die, never do anything, or they're wrong. And it's inconceivable to most of these people that Bitcoin or anything could run beyond 2025. They have that's why they're all so stressed out and bearish. It's the next 60 days now. Like that's it. To them, it's that or anything, and they can't even envision anything in 2026. And I think if you aren't at least considering first quarter of 2026, if not second, for some of these things to keep going, then you're probably leaving money on the table. But maybe they're happy because they've only invested in Bitcoin and are safer investors than us, and whatever. I don't know.
So I pulled up the Pi Cycle top indicator that we look at, every couple weeks or whatever. And again, there is no sign that we were anywhere close to any kind of top regarding this. Anyway, historically, this chart, anytime the two lines intersect or at least touch, that indicates the cycle top. Well, it has done that the past 4 cycles, and again, we haven't even gotten close since the last top back in April of 2021. So again, if they think it's over and this chart doesn't show anything near that at all, as far as momentum goes, and that's a lot of what it is the momentum that catches up, and is basically so overbought that the bubble bursts. And that's essentially what this chart is showing. And it has just never been, even with the rise from 15K up to 120, it did not cross that threshold and get into that territory at all. So again, I just like to take a look at this to kind of see where this is looking. It did kind of get, I would say the closest it got was back here in May, May 31st ish of 2024. But since then, it has pulled away, eased a little closer. But yeah, we're not in any kind of territory to even claim that a top has happened.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting to see this kind of, and again, it hasn't happened yet, so maybe this is loaded, but it's interesting to see this come to fruition because how many times have we had the conversation on here about this going beyond 2025? You were, I'm not like pointing this out to diss you necessarily, but you were pretty staunchly against that for most of the talk of the year. And I get why, because it's like, we do know those parabolic moves can happen in the last quarter or whatever. And again, we still have 60 days left in 2025.
We do.
But as we edge closer and closer, I mean, it just seems more likely, obviously, that something could happen going into 2026. And we're getting closer to that now. Do you have any thoughts? So we were talking about the FOMC today, obviously the 25-point rate cut. Most importantly, though, again, because everybody knew that was coming, is Powell's comments, which everybody is always looking out for. You mentioned to me earlier, and one of the most bullish things that people are pointing out is he, explicitly says that quantitative tightening of all kinds will be ended by December 1st.
Yeah.
So that is something people were already kind of banking on as well, that was coming to an end. And he officially says by the 1st of December. And then on the bearish side, people are taking it, which I think they're mistaken to do so. He says that there is definitely no guarantee of a rate cut in December. He specifically said that it's not a foregone conclusion, far from it, that there's a rate cut in December. So this after, many people are expecting a rate cut in December, a rate cut in January. I think the end of January is the next meeting. So a lot of people are expecting this. Powell kind of throws cold water on this. But this is what he typically does. Like he does the conservative,
Sure.
I don't mean conservative politically, but conservative, not being aggressive about moving at all. He does these kind of things, like kind of the dad speak at every single one of these meetings. He's not going to come out and say like, yeah, we'll be cutting rates next time as well. Like,
Yeah,
it's almost 2 months from now. It would be foolish to say anything one way or the other. And my money is still on them cutting again there too. But of course, many people are freaked out by it and stuff like that. But what do you make of those comments?
well, yeah, the biggest thing is that the balance sheet reduction ending on December 1st. That means basically the program that reduces the Fed's holdings of the U.S. Treasury and mortgage-backed securities will be ending. They were or had been reducing the holding, which means now they're going to start buying more, which means in order to purchase more of that, they need better rates to borrow. So that always triggers things. Maybe we could see a nice little run starting at December when money is easier again to borrow and the money printers are going burr like we've seen before. So I think that was the most bullish thing. You're totally right, though. He always talks. He covers both bases, right? He's always very in the middle when he speaks about all of this stuff. So I think that was the most bullish thing, though, was the balance sheet reduction ending on December 1st.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, I still expect there to be a rate cut in December. And yeah, Nathan, Julian, too many people believe in a 4-year cycle, markets do the opposite. And that's another thing, and this is like, what is the definition of a 4-year cycle? And I always see Bob Lucas talking about it because he's a huge proponent of it. And it's the lows between the bear market lows, basically. So even he himself, I saw on Twitter the other day, Bob Lucas was saying, yeah, we by all means could have a top in like May of 2026 and still be in a 4-year cycle. So
Sure.
This is what we've been talking about, where people that are saying extended super cycle versus regular 4-year cycle can all have their cake, eat it too, smear it all over their naked bodies, whatever they want to do, because nobody's defining what they're talking about. And I don't think anyone who is saying super cycle or extended cycle has any goddamn idea what they're talking about. Like, I think they just mean 2026 to some degree. You know what I mean?
And here's the thing you have to think about too. So many people have, every cycle there's been more people here for more cycles. They've seen this stuff. They're planning for it. They think it's going to still be clockwork. Like this is going to happen. Like I did at first, right? I'm guilty of it myself. So I'm not excluding myself when I speak this way. But when more people start planning for this to happen, it's not going to happen that way. You can almost guarantee it. And I've come to that, realization that, just because I thought it would be just like the others, because that's how it's been working the last 3 cycles, then, it's more than likely to not happen that way. You have to get people wrecked. You have to wash people out each time. Doesn't matter how it happens. And obviously this time, I think the lengthening of the cycle is going to do just that. There are going to be people frustrated that, man, December rolls around, it's not gone up yet. I'm getting out. I'm getting out before something really bad happens. And then you see a lot of people sell or whatever, because it's just doing nothing. And then all of a sudden it takes off. So again, I think that's kind of part of this too, is the mentality of people that have been here more cycles starting to plan for this and think it's going to be just like clockwork, and it's not.
Yeah, Hex Girl too. Is it possible you need to throw the 4-year cycle out now with the government so involved in crypto? It's not the same anymore. I mean, she's brought that up before, and I mean, we've talked about the institutions being here more than they've ever been. Probably more manipulation and big money sloshing and moving things around. Bitcoin has moved less aggressively this cycle. Now, that may be just because of the maturity of the asset, but also because that kind of money is in there, and they're more accustomed to this stair-stepping, slow, stock market type of movement rather than the violent hellscape that we're a part of. But I think that's a great point too.
Yep. We also know there's a lot of manipulation that still happens. So what they do is they buy OTC buys, they buy large amounts, and then as the price goes up, they can dump a little bit, and control where it's at, what it's doing, until they've kind of made it. Doesn't have to be a lot, but they make decent profit on the OTC buys, and then they're doing the market sells to kind of contain the price. And then they just rinse and repeat. They keep doing that over and over. It's a great way to build up financial gains for them, while not looking like it's really manipulating the market, but it is. So,
right.
Again, the bigger institutions know how to play these games, and really mess with people's heads. And then when it really takes off, then you got to look out.
Yeah. What do you think of this? Pulse Beats, good stuff here. Tom Lee bought another shit ton of Ethereum I saw earlier, which this guy's going to be the MVP of this bull market. This is what I am predicting right now. He's the most contrarian guy out there. He's on all these like legacy media finance shows and stuff like that, like talking up AI stocks and Ethereum and all this stuff. And yeah, he's been calling for Ethereum to hit 15,000 by December. So what do you make of that call out, Ewok? But I will say either way, I love the guy. I'm glad he's out there.
We need more guys like him.
Exactly. Yeah, with some cojones. But what do you make of this?
Well, by December, it's possible. We have, when in December is another question. We still have, like you said, 60 days left in the year. Essentially 63 days left in the year. So there is time. It doesn't take long for crazy things to happen, but at this point, that's reaching, I think. Now, could we do it? Sure. It's got to happen. Start tomorrow. To get to that kind of level, you're talking this week, next week, it's got to really get started, and the heat has to be turned up. But someone's going to do it eventually. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I would be happy with 12K, and even if it were March of 2026, honestly. So if he's right about that, obviously, I think we will all be very happy with that. So
yeah, let's get to 6,000 or 7,000 first. Let's hold the all-time high more than a couple hours.
Yeah,
that's where we got to start. I mean, that once that happens, I think you start to see some other things kind of taking shape, and you get to an all-time high and you hold it for an extended period of time, a couple days, then people will look at it a little bit more seriously. Right now, there's just manipulation.
I'm with you. If we start to see Ethereum above 5K for a few days, close above 5K for a couple of weeks, I think that's whenever we're off to the races, probably. So, awesome convo. 12K ETH puts the well, not that you can see the whole fund anymore, but the Pulse Chain sacrifice funds, which are all over the place these days, I would put it at $2 billion. That's from Fast Abdul. So good stuff.
I think they got caught in a tornado somewhere.
Yeah. Dorothy, not in Kansas anymore. So yeah, we're going to transition into the Pulse Chain stuff. But if you guys are here and enjoying the stream so far, do us a favor. Go ahead and lightly tap the like button. We appreciate all of you being here. Subscribe to the channel as well. I never say that. And there's a little, I guess they light up the subscribe button on YouTube if you do that now. So subscribe. There you go. All right. So let's go over to the Pulse Chain ecosystem here. So we had, I didn't even pull it up myself. So
I have it up here on the screen.
I'm using a very small computer and I can't really see anything, but we've got Pulse right now. It made a good move over the last few days. We have Pulse basically still hanging out in that region that was its previous all-time low back in August of 2023 of 403374. We have Pulse X right now, 402275. We have Hex at 00763. We've got Inc at $1.26. We have eHex at 00. Wow, has that gone down? Has that fallen more than the others? Seems like it has. eHex down at 001876. So that is where we are right now. A slight pullback today, obviously, with kind of the manipulation of the rest of the market. But we saw a good move here over the last few days. I think there's been a few catalysts for it. I mean, you could argue, is it just the bullish action that Bitcoin and ETH saw into the weekly close? But also, the big news over the last couple of weeks has been what we just mentioned. The Pulse Chain Ethereum Strategic Reserve, as it had been called, or sacrificed fund, whatever you want to call it these days, has mostly been dispersed into many other wallets. I think at this point we are standing at over $200 million in Ethereum has been gone through Tornado Cash at this point. So we have no idea where that is anymore. And we've got major, accounts on Twitter. I didn't mean to get into this totally yet, but tweeting about it, like basically wallet tracking accounts, but then also individuals just reporting on it and stuff like that. So I think that's been a catalyst for this a little bit. And just this seemingly culture shock turning of the leaf of all these large accounts, hundreds and thousands of followers that are suddenly, I don't know who needs to hear this, but Pulse Chain's going to flip XRP and, just stuff like this out of nowhere. Somebody put in the chat earlier that Jason AI Williams guy. I think that's fake. I don't think he's got $31 million that he took from Solana to Pulse Chain. That's one of the things that he posted, but he's been bull posting it and talking about Pulse Chain. Among many others, it just seems like a little bit of a shift right now. So I think a lot of catalysts here, but yeah, if you want to, go with whatever the narratives you think are that could be causing this EWAC, and then we can look at the Pulse chart too.
Well, you look at the 7-day. I mean, 24 hours, not that great. Everything's down, a couple of percent from between 2 and 6%. But when you back out to the 7-day chart, everything's looking pretty good. You got Pulse up 18%, Pulse X almost 19%, Hex is up 21%, Inc is up 8%. So over the course of 7 days, things have been good. Just because we're having a red day today, zoom out and then over 30 days it's back down. But the last week itself is looking pretty spicy. So yeah, let's open up the let's open up the chart here for Pulse and take a look at what we've got going on.
Mm-hmm.
I know last week what was last week was, what was the date? Or wait, this is the 15-minute. Hang on. I was like, why is it not changing? Yeah, 15 minutes. You got to zoom out to get a better picture. But look at the structure that we formed. You know, like I said, if you look at the last week alone, it has been making some nice gains. Now we are getting the standard pullback. The pullback right now is just below the range of support that we had back here in October, where it kind of rested for a while before it did break through. So again, this is another key level of support that we really need to hold. And this one is seeming to hold okay. It is a little bit lower right now, but this one's all right. Let's look at the I do want to look at the hex chart, because I remember saying last week about that key level of, as long as we keep making the higher highs, you know, we would be in good shape. But unfortunately, it looks like hex broke through that previous one, and actually maybe it was ehex that I was looking at. Was it ehex? Yeah, ehex was, this is the chart that I was talking about. So ehex had continued to make some, you know, slightly higher highs, and I said as long as it didn't break through this low at the 0.002, which it did, and when it did, it really went down. So, you know, that's where we're at with the ehex price anyway. Let's go back to the regular hex and take a look at this. It is looking just the same, about the same as Pulse. Again, we've went lower than some of these wicks back here back in October, but again, I think it found a little bit of support structure from the top of these wicks that were once resistance. So again, these are very critical levels. You know, if they can hold and not get through some of these prior resistance levels, and we use it as support, you know, I can see some good things happening here. So
yeah,
just it's all a matter of more people buying than selling. Are the sellers exhausted yet? We'll have to see.
Well, the interesting thing is, to turn it back a bit to the funds being tornado cashed, and you know, more and more of those not being as trackable for people not to front run. What do you make about what do you make of that? Because overall, I mean, obviously this whole thing has been perceived as incredibly bullish. Like everybody, you know, thinks that those going through that process is a bullish thing. You can't track it anymore. What's going to be done with it? I guess maybe just to lead us naturally into this, did you want to pull up that post from Buck that we can talk about real quick?
Yeah, on the movements.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I think this is kind of interesting. So, you know, transitioning out of the charts and just talking about all of the SAC funds that have been tornado cash so far and what could potentially be done with it. So this is Buck from what Fiat and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So he said the other day, he said, my 2 cents on RH movements. He's not buying Lambos, at least not with that money. He's most likely getting ready to DCA out of ETH and back into stables. Wait a minute. I thought there was more than this. Didn't he put like a list of scroll down a little bit if you could. Here you go. This is what I was looking at. So he and this is all, of course, his hypothetical, just guessing, but he said options: hold stables till the bear market, get yield on Aave till the bear market, better. Pump RH coins when he thinks it's the right moment, OTC and buy Lambos, all of the above. Obviously, there's some tongue-in-cheek stuff there, but what I don't know. What do you think could be done here? Because like, I think a lot of people have just been assuming that those funds would just stay in Ethereum and then, you know, go up as Ethereum goes up, basically, and then hopefully maybe rotate into the Pulse chain ecosystem. Like he was speculating about going into stables and earning yield. I mean, you can earn yield on Ethereum also. You could do like an amalgam of all these things, obviously, and just differentiate. But I don't know. What do you think? Because there are some ideas that I hadn't really thought of. I mean, I think, like I said, many people just thought of them sitting in Ethereum. Richard has been like an ETH permabull, waving the ETH flag more than Vitalik does. So, I think a lot of people just have been assuming that he'd be staying, or that entity or wherever that stuff is would be staying in Ethereum. So I don't know. What do you make of these potential other ideas and what may be done?
Well, I think we have to back up to what happened, before the case with the SEC, right? A lot of this stuff was in stables. And again, my speculation was that the reason Ethereum was bought in the first place was to not give anybody the chance to freeze a wallet.
True.
It was in stables originally, and we think that the Ethereum purchase was only to prevent that from happening. Any kind of them confiscating or freezing funds, where if you're on Ethereum, you can use Tornado Cash. You can do a lot of interesting, cool things to mask the identity. But if it's in stable coins, you do run that risk of someone shutting down an account or invalidating those tokens, and then you're really screwed. So I don't like the stable coin option. Now, could some of it go for yield producing purposes? Absolutely. I think it just creates a whole bunch of speculation now. Where is it? What's happening? What's it being used for? And that entity obviously doesn't want anyone to know, right? It's hard to say. It could be more marketing options. It could be more purchasing, like you said, something that was generate enough yield to sustain itself and then fully fund the the purchase to go back into the whole ecosystem. So I think there's so many options available when you're talking that kind of money, hundreds of millions. I do believe some of it will stay in ETH, and I do believe it'll ride the price up as well. So why wouldn't you do that? It makes the most sense to happen first, right? Now, the Ethereum Foundation, I do believe whenever some of these moves happened, the Ethereum Foundation pulled out almost an equally similar amount whenever that 166,000 or however many it was were moved. Ethereum Foundation also made a move too, which I found very weird. And I don't know that we talked about that very much, but
we mentioned it, I believe. Yeah.
But so that was odd. And usually when they move that kind of money, they do a very large sell.
Yeah.
I don't know that happened. I don't know. Again, I don't track wallets. I really, I don't, it doesn't do it for me watching other people's money. It's not mine. So, it's like watching rich people spend money at a casino. It's like, I don't care. It's not doing anything for me. So, anyway, it's just interesting. There's a lot of options. I do like the yield option where you can generate more to potentially reinvest that yield continuously. I like that, and that would also give someone the opportunity to throw a little bit of money in to see what's going to happen. Are the sellers done? Are they exhausted yet? I'm only doing it with yield. I'm still generating more, so it's not like coming out of the capital. It's what's being earned. So that's the option that I like the most. And you don't have to go into stables to do that, obviously. So you can loan Ethereum and on Aave and do things from there without going into stables. Hard to say. I don't even know what to think would happen. I've never had that kind of money, so I wouldn't even know where to start. But I'm sure it's all been not quite, almost, but not quite.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know where to start. I'm sure he has planned it all out though, and made these very strategic moves. A lot of people maybe he thought would front run it, and I haven't really seen that happen. Although like I said, we did see, almost 20% up this past week. Something could already be in play. We don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. See, I personally love the tornado cash thing happening because as you just said, I don't even really want to know. I don't want to know because the people that are
Mhm.
speculating are typically wrong. They think that they have it all figured out. I remember legendarily, you probably won't remember this guy, but there's this dude, it was like OG Faraday or something. It was this sleuth who knew everything that was going on with Richard. And it was like, honestly, if people think that we're still in like bad sentiment now, think back before the SEC defeat and everything, and everybody was screaming like the DOJ is getting involved in this. Wait till the DOJ gets involved. Like all this stuff was going on, and this Faraday guy is going like, wait till the DOJ shows up and here's the wallets. Here's what he did, and like he's just going on and on about all this shit, showing how everything he did was illegal. Richard Hart goes on to set a precedent by
Mhm.
beating the SEC in court, like that literally no other blockchain, including Ethereum, has. Um, none of that stuff happened at all. So it's just these people that report on that stuff that feel like they have facts and stuff. They just don't. And I would rather just see it come in, organically from wherever. You don't know where it's coming from, who's doing it, whatever. And I guess to turn our attention to this aspect of it that we just talked about is this like vibe shift that we're starting to see. And a lot of these
Mhm.
larger accounts reporting on, they've been dormant on Richard Hart. They haven't been like, even when he beat the SEC, nobody gave a shit about that at all. Like no, other than our ecosystem. I mean, no mainstream people were giving him his flowers or anything. Like when, and that was probably because they've been shitting on him obviously for years. So in their
Right.
mind, they can't marry that this guy just like got a legal precedent in court against the SEC. You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense to them, and they just don't care because they're not being paid by him or anything like that, like many of the other stuff they're probably invested in. But then this stuff happens, and we see these movements now. Why do you think this is what it took? Like, was it as simple as like starting to see these moves into Tornado Cash and these bigger wallet tracking accounts saying like, oh, wallets expected to belong to Richard Hart that have this many millions of dollars in Ethereum, blah blah blah. And then now, as we were stating, these large accounts that are ranging, six hundreds of thousands of followers up to 500,000 followers is the biggest account that I have seen, are suddenly bull posting Pulse Chain and Hex and stuff like that. And I forget the name of one of them, but he's into that Caspa ecosystem or whatever it is as well. And he's like, I'm going to start holding weekly spaces on the Hex ecosystem and the
Mhm.
Caspa ecosystem. And I think Crypto Coffee and Hexo were in one of those spaces the other day. I heard Coffee say today. So what is it? Was it just as simple as like this money being moved and people were like, oh, okay. And now they're on the hook? I don't know.
It's very possible. Again, people like to front run, right? So maybe they have bags now. Maybe they saw that money moving and thinking, "Oh my God, he's gonna pump the ecosystem. Let's get a bag now." And of course, people talk about the bags they hold, right? There's no other reason. We talk about the bags we hold. That's what we do.
Right. Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Nobody's going to get on and talk about just stuff that they don't have, you know, that they don't find interesting or that they don't hold themselves.
Right.
That's when you start to see people shit talking. You can usually tell who has sold what, right? It all happened when the EHEX PHEX thing happened, and you saw how many guys were talking very badly about EHEX. Why do you think that happened? Well, because they sold, right?
Right.
They don't care about it anymore. So,
It's kind of like you with
um,
PDI actually too.
well, yeah, kind of very similar, actually. So,
Anyway.
it's just the way it goes. I mean, you don't like to talk about the things you don't hold. Now, do I hope that people that hold things that I don't hold get rich? Of course. I want everyone to succeed. And just because I don't hold it, I'm not that vindictive type of person, though. I'm not gonna trash it every chance I get, just because I don't hold any. I just won't really talk much about it. I'm not one to tweet badly about PDI. I just don't talk about it. So, there's a big difference there, and I do think that a lot of these guys have have had Pulse Chain along the way. You know, we know Ben Armstrong bought some. We know Moon Carl bought some. We know a lot of people sacrificed back in the day. And what they did with it, maybe they sold and bought back lower. Maybe they feel that this is the bottom and they've turned around a little bit and had to increase their position. I really don't know. But 9 times out of 10, again, when people start talking about things, it's because they've bought some and they're holding it. So I think that's really what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think you're correct as well. It's just very interesting to see the sudden vibe shift, and it's funny. I was just scrolling through my bookmarks, like back when that Look On Chain account posted on October the 19th, their first post where they said wallet suspected to belong to Richard Hart, founder of all our stuff, transferred 153 Ethereum to new wallets over the past 5 hours, all this stuff. That's when that Zero Hedge account retweeted it and said, "Is the SEC aware?" And then just got blown up by Pulse Chain people, telling them like, "Hey, newsflash, he actually beat the SEC." So, yeah, just interesting stuff. But a lot of attention has been going on with it, and if this is all it took all this time, then okay, fine with me. But
yeah,
new paradigm maybe coming here. So, we can transition out of this, and I'll be honest with you, we didn't have a lot more tonight, so we'll do our best to fill this. But I not to retread a conversation we already had, but Alex McWhirter, I think, is a good vehicle to continue a conversation we were talking about with this cycle, which is just, you know, I get it. It's maybe redundant to keep talking about this, but I just think it's the most interesting thing right now. You know, I mean, it's all that we're all talking about every single day is how long is this thing going to go on? You know, are we already done? Is Bitcoin already topped? Is the liquidity injection going to change things around? And Alex, of course, and there, you know, we're at the pointy walk where there are people who probably don't even know who Alex is that watch this stream now. So for anybody that doesn't, yeah, for anybody that doesn't, so, you know, when Hex was Richard Hart's pretty much only creation last cycle, Alex invented ICOSA. Well, Hedron first, and then ICOSA. Hedron to incentivize longer term Hex staking. It's basically a reward that you got, like inflationary token that you can mint prior to ending your Hex stakes. And you can do that on the icosa.pro site. I think there's other places too, but I know on there, well, there was a Hedron front end too. But then he also created ICOSA along with that was basically tied to the value of the T-share, I think is the way it actually works. And ICOSA really became like the more bullish asset of the two to hold. You can stake Hedron to earn ICOSA and vice versa and all these things. But he's really, you know, mainly been away for the last couple of years, hypothetically working on rebuilding out V2 of ICOSA Hedron, where, you know, it was the whole, you know, split from Ethereum to Pulse Chain and having copies of them. And it sounds like that's been taking a backseat. But anyway, that whole preamble just to talk about what he posted today in terms of the cycle, which we don't really get this. Oh, no, I didn't mean this. I know I just sent you this.
I thought you wanted to go there first. Okay, yeah. No problem.
Yeah, the one. Okay, so this is what he posted today about the cycle. All right, so he says, personally, I think this cycle is just starting. Like as a whole, BTC, ETH, and everything else included, all this upward momentum, I personally believe you can attribute to large players who over the past 2 to 3 years got the green light from Congress buying the bottom. But retail has more or less been dead in the market since mid-2023 or so. If the Fed had done what it probably needed to do and kept rates high because the average consumer is nearly priced out of life, yeah, for sure, I wouldn't think this. But in my opinion, they played their whole hand, and it wasn't a good hand. Debts and compounding leverage set a narrow range of what they could do, and the printers will go burr soon at the expense of the non-investing classes. The Genius Act will keep the inputs flowing, absorbing debts, creating new debt buyers, and keeping the show running for another couple rounds at least. Not financial advice, just my thoughts. I don't think I could have said it better, honestly. What do you make of this post? Because it certainly does feel like that. It really does feel like the launching pad is right now, and it really is just beginning. I don't know how much more room to run Bitcoin could have because it's already had a good cycle so far. But I agree with him. This kind of feels like the beginning, or maybe like where we should have been 6 months ago, but you know, here now. So
yeah, I completely agree with everything he said. I think. Did you turn your camera off on purpose?
Yeah, I'm got
Okay.
tissue in my nose, kind of.
That's fine. That's fine. So yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything he said. I do believe, and this was again one of the theories that we had talked about last week. Maybe didn't go into complete detail, but how the government, it was time to turn the printers on to print the money. That's kind of why we saw gold go up. Also heard some speculation of them because of the Genius Act that were probably going to buy in a lot of stable coins, like they were going to hold stables or print them themselves if they can. How the Fed works is if they can print it and mint it themselves, then why not? And unfortunately, that's what exactly they've done to the US dollar and devalued it so much because they printed entirely too much of it. Now, in general, that's bad for stable coins in crypto. It's good for other things because as the money gets devalued, the value has to go up to equate to inflation, right? It just takes more of those dollars to buy what once was lower. So yeah, I completely agree with Alex. He's a very smart mind, and if you aren't familiar with him or the things he's done, um, there was also discussion on the other post that I had pulled up first about his Sigma protocol. He's looking to do something very similar to an index type fund, uh, crypto based index. So very cool idea. Look into his stuff. I mean, he is a very intelligent guy. One of the very first builders that was on Hex that did create Hedron and the ICOSA protocol as well. So yeah, I think he hits it right on the head, and I do believe the Genius Act is definitely going to come into play here once you see that December 1st thing roll around, where they're not going to, or they stop reducing the holdings that they have in their funds. I do see some stable coins being added to that. I would be pretty certain of it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he hits it on the nail here. And yeah, about retail not being here. I don't even remember 2023 at all. So I don't know if it felt like retail was here in mid 2023. I don't really remember that. But yeah, I feel like we're on the precipice right now too. Did you want to pull up the Sigma post, which is extremely lengthy, so I can kind of just
Yeah,
skip
sure.
through it a little bit? But yeah, I think it's good to talk about this because he posted it a few weeks ago, and the idea of like an index is very interesting sounding to me. So we'll kind of just blow through here at the key details. So he says, I think it's time to talk about Sigma protocol and how I see it fitting into the current Pulse chain ecosystem and how I can hope it will shape the future of it. I've made enough posts about liquidity and entropy. Even some my terms like liquidity web have become commonplace now. So it's nice to know you guys listen. In short, we need products that reward good behavior, but not just for itself, but the whole chain. Hex does this for itself. Hedron and ICOSA, I think he even typoed his own coin there.
Yeah, did.
Do this for themselves, and Hex, etc. Very few things are out there that are incentivized. That a lot of typos here, Alex, but that's okay. That are incentivizing that behavior for the whole chain that aren't liquidity products. Liquidity is great, but it also just has a neutral effect. Can be good, can be bad. On a side note, the LPX guys seem to have everything cool or have something cool. I think I still need some more time to know 100% how I feel about it, but I do think it's worth looking into and making your own decisions about. Anyways, on to Sigma protocol. The TLDR, without giving up any secret sauce, it's a multi-layer or a multi-index protocol. Think things like SPC, IXIC, DJI, etc., in traditional markets. It has multiple index strategies to choose from. Equal weighted is, of course, one, but there are others. You can bundle a number of tokens together, and it will create a singular index token that represents the bundle and strategy. After funding, the only way in out of the index is stables. There are some really important nuances. One, the tokens in the index are not liquidity. They are specifically held outside of LP pools. Many tokens in, one out, reduces entropy of the system state, no impermanent loss risk from LP. That's cool. Because of the direct stable input-output redemption mechanism, the only pair that makes sense with the resulting index token is stables or coins with massive stable pairs like ETH and Pulse. Number 3, onboard ease by one token and hold the representation of many. Easy to also create alternative bridge markets where the other side of the bridge only needs one pair with a stable to provide viable ARB opportunities and liquidity injection from other chains. Which brings to the final question, how are these indexes in Sigma created? By a custom DAO of sorts. A lot of secret sauce exists in the DAO, so I'm going to be brief for now. There are no restrictions for the DAO. Primarily, I envision other token creators on Pulse Chain to be the primary holders of the DAO token, maybe some whales and blockchain enthusiasts as well. Anyways, the DAO has the ability to tune many aspects of active indexes, but also create new ones. However, there is one major caveat. When creating a new index, the proposer has to put up DAO token as backing collateral. I don't know if these DAO tokens will have value as they are largely functional. Maybe people speculate on them. I can't control that. But if proposers create bad indexes or include scams in them, they lose their DAO tokens and can no longer participate in the DAO. That's the trade-off. And then he goes on to talk about how Icosa and Hedron are on the back burner right now. And yeah, just some stuff about the chain right now. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I think that sounds wildly interesting, and especially a really good product for somebody who would be new to crypto, doesn't want to, get totally in the weeds of buying each individual token and maybe confused. I think it sounds really interesting, and I think there's probably been efforts to do these kind of things before, but we don't have it on Pulse Chain, and there's not many examples of it in crypto. So what do you make of it? If you wanted to look at Ryan's response there, you can as well. But I think this is awesome.
Yeah, and he makes a very good statement. He can we just read through this because it is smart. He says, "This is a good idea. I just own all the coins I care about and benefit from the pattern you're trying to simplify by owning them. Technically, what you're suggesting is doing the exact same thing, but having a single token to represent all the tokens in the index. Does it really add any additional value, or does it just encourage longer term holding because it's an index and an extra step to cash out? Would it have any sort of token yield? I have questions and concerns for every new token that hits the market. Most of them are trash, but I can't ignore innovation if it's the right time to push something new and useful. Smart play." And Alex says there is. He was talking about the yield. But I'm not publicizing how that works just yet. So I think he's got some, he's been thinking this up and thinking it through. I know the whole V2 thing that he was talking about was, let's kind of talk about what that was at first. And that was to keep the Hedron on Ethereum and the Hedron on Pulse Chain equivalent. He wanted to match them. He wanted them to have equal pairs so that you could trade in and out no matter what it was and have an equal value on both sides. That's what V2 was originally supposed to do. Could this do something like that? It's very possible. Now, here's the thing. You would have to combine a whole bunch of Ethereum tokens and a whole bunch of Pulse Chain tokens and kind of tie them together in the same index. Would that provide kind of an arbitrage opportunity? Very possibly, and thinking big picture, I have a feeling that's kind of what he wants to do. I mean, most people want these things to have equal value to go in and out of either chain, just like you would with other big coins, right? It doesn't matter which exchange you're on for Bitcoin, you're going to be within a very similar price. Now, it's not a different chain. However, it's a similar scenario. So I think big picture, that's what would be the ideal goal out of this whole thing. But again, he's a much bigger brain than I am, when it comes to designing and creating protocols and ideas and things of that nature. So yeah, I think it's great. I think having it and the one thing that it would encourage would be a longer type holder. you would have people not just getting in and out. You're not promoting traders that are going to continue to dump the price at every little turn. It's an index. The idea is you buy them and hold them. So as far as long-term value, I think it's a fantastic idea. And if you can get yield out of it, even better.
Yeah, and I think it's also valuable not just, to make it like harder to sell or whatever, but also easier to buy and hold, because there's many people out there that, think of like the bigger investors, like that potentially get interested in something like Pulse Chain that don't totally understand blockchain and they don't understand the bridges yet. And, there was a time where we didn't even have Liberty Swap, which, that's becoming a big, easy way for people to onboard now.
Mhm.
It's a thing that we always talk about that, when things are harder to buy, that's when the opportunity is there. But, this is one of those efforts to make things even easier to buy. And if you tell some big investor that they can hold a fund of, well, say that I just want to get like the three main Pulse chain tokens, or four, or whatever, however you want to look at it, the two hexes and Pulse X, and hold one token, but I want to weigh it this way. I mean, that would be an easy way for somebody to get in. So I think that's valuable. Not, and I'm not saying Ryan was saying this, but not that it's tricking people into holding long term or something, but it's making it easier to buy stuff. Especially if these people have disposable income and they have a big fund that they want to start and they're going to just drop a bunch in and let it go for a while. It's a way easier way to do it. They're not
Yeah.
going to manage, bags of all this crypto stuff in multiple wallets like a lot of us psychos do. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yep.
I love it. I mean, I hope we hear a lot more from Alex soon. I mean, I think we're going to, with his thoughts like on the cycle and everything here. And, he's been perking up lately.
Yeah.
With some of this stuff.
And just to be clear, he didn't disappear. He in the back often runs a data center that a lot of these places like Hex Scout and Go Pulse and a lot of other entities are using his APIs to maintain price feeds and things like that. So Alex has been around. He's been working hard. I know he was doing a lot of that out of his own pocket, and setting this data center up probably for something very similar to this, to be able to to manage something of this scale. So pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad to see it here. So good stuff from Alex. If you guys are enjoying the stream, do us a favor and hit the like button. We appreciate you being here. We do this every Wednesday evening at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. We honestly didn't have much else to go over tonight, Ewok. Was there any kind of final thoughts that you had, on this market? I mean, I know a lot of our conversations are basically about what's going on with the cycle, developing news, macro situations, and stuff like that. Anything else that you want to go over?
I can't think of anything at the moment. The one statistic I did ask you about last week and wanted to bring that up, and how many of our subscribers actually, or how many of our viewers are actually subscribers. And I thought that was interesting. Our statistics were a little bit higher than some of the some of the big YouTubers I hear out there talking about it, that they're only like 30 or 40% of their viewers are subscribed. And I found that interesting. And we were closer to what, 50? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was like 50-50 or something like that, which honestly, that's pretty close to what I usually hear people saying, or like 60-40 or something like that. I don't know. But yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting. So if you haven't already and you watch our show, support us. Click the button, subscribe. It's not going to hurt anything.
Click the button already.
Click the button already. Help us with that algorithm a little bit. We are going to be getting into some pretty heated territory here pretty soon, and I think a lot of things are going to take off. Help us out.
Yeah, and I think that's a good message just for kind of all Pulse Chain people. That's something I've been trying to do too, is for example, we were talking about a lot of the action on Twitter that we're seeing lately. I said to you earlier today, we're seeing a hexologist out there, and he's always done this, but I feel like it's having an effect right now because the market is starting to perk up a little bit, and we're seeing him out there ratioing these large accounts, everywhere. Not necessarily being rude or anything, but just saying like, duh, dude, it's Pulse Chain or whatever. Like, it's all these engagement farming posts on these big accounts that are just like, what's the next token to 100x? Drop it below or whatever. And he's just doing an amazing job with that. And I know some of the guys that are running the spaces and everything. Like, I know Ewok and I, neither of us are really like sit on Twitter all day and get into tons of spaces and stuff. But I know that there's these raids going on. Like, people are just raiding other crypto spaces and stuff with Pulse Chain people and stuff. I mean, I think that's all awesome, especially if the messaging is positive, which I think lately it has been. I mean, I don't think it's been some of the more toxic people that there's been in the community that exist in every community, honestly. So yeah,
I've seen a lot of that decrease. I've seen a lot of the toxicity, the cry fagging. I've seen a lot of that go away recently. But the one thing I did want to add to that thought was, if you see people out there replying to big name people, give them a like their comment, get it moving. It's so helpful when they have that type of the viewership and they're getting responses like that. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to comment, or I mean, you can obviously make it professionally, make it nice. Like, don't be an ass about it. But at least like the comment that replied to the bigger viewers. It will make a huge impact. More than you know. It will create a crazy snowball type of thing.
Yeah. Like, every time I see Hexo stuff, I just like it, retweet it automatically. And inevitably, I mean, I have 1,200 followers because I don't care about Twitter, but I'll retweet it, and then I'll always see that a few people liked my version of the retweet, so they saw it from my feed. So it's just it takes a millisecond. There's not even anything you have to do, and you're just boosting somebody's signal. Like, I figure if I'm not going to be on there putting in that work to get in all these spaces and stuff all day long, and there are people that I'm going to try to boost their signal as much as I possibly can. Yeah,
absolutely. Share the love. It will pay off dividends.
Am I subscribed to some Pulse Chain or Hex YouTube channels that are not my favorite just because? Yeah, because I want to support the ecosystem and boost up everybody's numbers. I think that's a great message that we could all be doing right now,
Absolutely.
Especially right now. So awesome. All right. Well, a little bit of a shorter show than normal, but we're going to have more bullish things to talk about. Johnny Chaos in 2 days, 1 year anniversary of RH hearing. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, in New York. Because it was on Halloween. I remember because they moved it. It was originally the week prior.
Yep.
And
moved it to Halloween.
And everybody was like, they're doing it on purpose because of Halloween. They know that we have kids and we can't go and all this shit. Wow, that's crazy to think of. Good comment, Johnny. Yeah, that puts things into perspective. I was just thinking earlier today, it's been like 8 months. It was February that the case was dismissed, actually. So
it didn't officially end until July after all the bullshit afterwards.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Because we had to wait the 60 days and the reply and wait for that. And
True. I just remember that day in February was such a big thing because we were all ecstatic and couldn't believe it and everything. And it had a massive pump that totally sold right off over the next couple of weeks. So hopefully it'll be on the way up soon. So keep your heads on a swivel. Let's not. Yeah, they didn't want Johnny there. Let's not get discouraged here. We got a long way to go. I mean, theoretically, these 2 months, even from the Bitcoin maxis, the 2 months that we're about to enter in right now should be the two most bullish months of the last 4 years. I mean, that's what everybody has thought. That's what they've been feeling. Will they be? Won't they be? I don't know. October wasn't as good as we thought it would be. So we will see. We have an interesting 8 weeks ahead of us, and then we may be on a whole new paradigm, if we start going into 2026 and really seeing things take off. So I don't know. Are we delusional bag holders, or are we all on the precipice of being able to change our lives for the better? Let's
change our lives for the better. That was the applause for that comment. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I appreciate all of you guys being here. From Valiant Low Key. Appreciate you, man. Many thanks, Ewok, BB Crypto, and all in the chat for another great show. Yeah, we appreciate all of you guys here. You guys are great every single week. We do this Wednesday night. Brownie's Midlife Adventure. Will we be doing 2 shows a week during the bull run? Honestly, doing one is semi-tough for us even right now, to be honest with you. Honestly, when I thought, I've been having these hypothetical thoughts of like when things get crazy and, that I don't even know if I want to do one at all for a little bit if things are too crazy and I have to really lock in and focus on that stuff. But I doubt 2 shows, but who knows? Maybe whatever happens here with this bull market. I mean, I have visions for the channel to have a lot more content in the next few years. So as long as things ever pick up in this market, so we shall see. So Tam clocking in right at the end. Hello to you as well. Enjoy the stream if you watch it back. A lot of fun here tonight. So appreciate all of you guys being here. Again, we do this every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for Crypto Ewok, this has been Broke Boy Crypto, right? Boo Boy Crypto on the Creed of Crypto. See you guys.
Peace.